So I've finally done it. After about 10 months of thinking, rethinking and second guessing, I finally picked up the OM1 Mark II alongside a couple of lenses. So in today's video, I'm really keen to, get out here and give it a go and see what we can find to shoot. But I also want to take a moment as well to answer a few questions that keep coming up in the comments about my camera choice, because there seems to be, quite a bit of a debate when it comes to full frame versus micro four thirds. So yeah, I'd like to dig into that a bit and hopefully sort of clear the air once and for all, and then we can get back to just focusing on the most important thing, which is of course taking photos, isn't it? Anyway, let's get on a bit further up the trail. So I'm on foot today. My wife has dropped me out here in the middle of nowhere because my van has gone in for a bit of a checkup today. So I mentioned in last week's video, right at the end, about the fact that my van had gone in for a safety recall. And whilst they were poking around, they found a couple of oil patches on the engine, which they said they would like to check out properly. So yeah, it's gone in today for a proper inspection to see what's going on, see if we can get to the bottom of the problem. So hopefully we'll get a call later on today to see what's actually up with it, or if anything's up with it. And yeah, we'll see. So no cheese and ham toasty for me today. Just have to make do with a boring old packed lunch. But yeah, I'm really keen to see what we can find in the next 4 or 5 hours today. And I'm really looking forward to seeing if I can maybe do a little bit of macro photography, because this area is very damp. I've already noticed a few mushrooms and fungi dotted about, so I'm really hopeful we can make a couple of close-in shots today and really put the OM1 Mark II to the test, see if we can make some lovely, soft, out-of-focus, dreamy macro images. Yeah, that's the plan anyway. So fingers crossed about the van, and yeah, see if we can find our first subject. So this definitely looks like a good area to start. Lots of fallen branches, very damp. I think this is a place to start. I have found a subject, a tiny little mushroom, all on its own amongst some wonderful green moss. So I think that is what we're going to be focusing on for our first shot. So yeah, really looking forward to taking this shot, but let's quickly talk about the gear that I've gone with. So I've got the 12 to 40 f2.8 on the OM1 Mark II here, and also the 50 to 200 f2.8. I've also gone with the 2x converter. Now it's actually quite a chunky setup when you look at other micro four thirds gear, but what I'm actually getting here is incredibly versatile. So in full frame terms, that's a range of 24mm all the way up to 800mm, with only a tiny 10mm gap in between these two lenses. So yeah, that covers a really nice range. And even with the 2x converter on, we're still letting in a nice amount of light for that 800mm full frame field of view with an aperture, I think, of f5.6. So yeah, I think that should work out really well for wildlife as well. Now, another thing that makes this setup so versatile is it also works well for macro photography. So with the 2x converter, which we've got here, I'll be able to get a 1:1 magnification in full frame terms with the 50 to 200 lens on the OM1 Mark II. So yeah, it's a super versatile setup in just 2 lenses. You've got pretty much all bases covered: wildlife, landscapes and macro. 2 lenses. Yes, they are quite bulky, but yeah, tons of versatility, and I think that's what you get in with this little setup here. So let's take this little macro shot down here and see how well it does. Now I'm going to be focus bracketing this, so it'll be really interesting to see what it looks like, because this is going to be my first ever macro shot on the OM1 Mark II. So hopefully it does well and I don't mess it up. So So I hope that shot turned out. Going back to the gear, I think basically I now got a solid setup that can handle wildlife, landscape and macro photography in just 2 lenses. There's also that big white lens as well, which could be an option in the future should I wish to get more reach. So I think those 2 white lenses are pretty much a dream wildlife setup in my eyes. Yeah, and actually I'm hoping to give that lens a try in a few weeks' time. So yeah, feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to check that video out in the future. Now, as for why I chose the OM1 Mark II, there are definitely a few key reasons for this. Firstly, reliable autofocus for wildlife, then we've got weight, ruggedness, weather sealing, stabilisation, and of course the lens choice as well, kind of suits what I'm looking for. Now, I've also had quite a few comments from people asking why I decided to go with micro 4/3 over full frame. And I completely get that. You know, we often make the comparison, especially when we're talking about focal lengths, like say 200mm to 400mm full frame equivalent lens. But honestly, I think the comparison between the sensor sizes is pretty pointless, to be honest, because there's so many other things that are probably way more important than sensor size. Like what lens you're putting in front of it, for example. Well, at least that's my view on it anyway. You know, I think every system has got its strengths and weaknesses, and it really just comes down to how you want to shoot and what you want to shoot. If you can find a camera and a lens combination that works for you and, you know, kind of helps you create the kind of images that you enjoy yourself, then that is all that really matters. Yeah, I don't really see it as a micro 4/3 versus full frame thing. They're just different tools for different jobs. It's all about getting out there and taking photos. And if you enjoy it, that is the main thing. So for me, I don't think you can really compare micro 4/3 to full frame. But what you can do is compare camera systems. For example, you could compare the Nikon Z8 to the OM1 Mark II, which is something I actually did. And I'll share my, oh, hang on a second, my phone is ringing. Let me just put you down, quickly. Hello. Oh, hi, you right? Yeah, it is, yeah. Oh. Oh, really? Flipping heck. That sounds expensive. Yeah. So what can we do then? Well, it's not looking good with the van. They found a few oil leaks actually. They found one on the, what did he say, the rear crank arm seal, one on the front crank arm seal, one on the prop shaft, and one on the dipstick seal. So yeah, it looks like the engine's got to come out and basically will be refurbished, I think, by the sounds of it. So that is gut-wrenching, to be honest. I'm absolutely gutted. He hasn't provided me with a quote, but I asked him how much it might cost, and he said, I'm not sure at this point, but it will be thousands, which is just unthinkable, really. Yeah. So I'm obviously back in the office now, and to be honest, I really tried to get back into the photography and find some more compositions, but my head just wasn't really in the right place for it. Plus, I've got to collect the van in a bit as well and hopefully get that quote so I can make a decision on what I'm going to do going forward. But I was talking about this whole full frame / micro 4/3 rabbit hole. And to be honest, I genuinely don't think you can compare just those two things because, like I said, you know, everyone has different reasons why they might want to choose one system over another. And arguing about it is kind of pointless in my eyes. But like I mentioned, I did do some comparisons with other brands and did like a kind of side-by-side checklist to see what was most important to me. And I think that's probably the best way of coming to a decision. You know, listening to opinions of other people in this regard, I guess, isn't that helpful, unless of course you shoot exactly the same subjects in exactly the same conditions and have the same requirements. Anyway, that's just my opinion on it. Now, I just want to go back to my Cena shot for just a second. You know, this thing was tiny. It was about the same size as a match head. So I was really glad to see that I was able to get the detail and separation where I need it. Now, one really clever feature with the OM1 Mark II, which I've got here, is the focus stacking computational feature, because
Once you've set up your settings, like how many shots you want to take and the spacing in between your shots, you simply press the shutter button and then it shows you the final shot all stacked and blended together in a JPEG format. You then get access to the raw files as well, so you can stack or blend the images together in post-production as you wish, which I think is super handy, because if you don't like editing, which I know a lot of people don't, this opens up a whole genre of photography to those people, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So because I actually enjoy editing my photos myself, I decided to blend the raw files together in Photoshop and Lightroom. But one of the great things is that you get to preview the image at the time of shooting, which basically gives you instant feedback on how the shot can look, which again I think is super helpful. Now, if you do a lot of stacking, bracketing or exposure blending, you'll know that it can be a bit of a faff sorting your images in Lightroom, because when you look in the film strip, there'll be lots and lots of images. So what I used to do was put my hand in front of the camera between my bracketed shots, so I can easily see where the groups of images start and end. But the trouble with that method is, if you're using, say, the built-in bracketing feature in your camera, you kind of end up with loads of shots of your hand. Say if you're doing a 15-shot bracket, you're going to end up with 15 shots of your hand, which is a complete waste of time, and again just adds photos to your film strip. What I used to try and do is turn off the bracketing feature, take a shot of my hand, turn back on the bracketing feature, take my stack, and then repeat that process as required. But there is a much easier way to do this in Lightroom, and I've only just recently found this out. So let me show you a really simple, quick technique that, yeah, I'm definitely going to use all the time going forward. So you can see here I've got 246 photos in my film strip, and that's because I was taking 15-shot focus brackets. I did do some 60-shot brackets as well. You know, I was doing a lot of experimenting as well with both the camera and my composition. So yeah, a bit of a nightmare to find the start and end of each stack. So if you go to the library module, which is the shortcut E, and then go to photo at the top, then stacking, and then come down to auto stack by capture time, you get this little slider which you can adjust, and this helps you to sort the stacks out. Now, I found if you're using the in-camera bracketing features that most cameras have, this one works best because each image is taken simultaneously. You might need to experiment a bit with your setup though, so you can adjust this setting to suit your gear. You know, if there's a little bit of time in between each shot, then you might need to increase this as required. For the own one, I've got mine set to 0.00.01. Anyway, click stack and it will group all of your bracketed photos together for you, which saves a ton of time sorting through stuff, and it keeps things really simple. Now, I've only recently come across this feature, so yeah, I hope that helps you out as well if you haven't come across it already. Anyway, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone over at the Photographers Clubhouse. I really do appreciate all of your support, and also a big hello to all of the new members that have joined recently. Now, if you're not familiar with it, the Clubhouse is kind of like my version of Patreon, but it's all run privately on my own website. Inside you'll find editing sessions where I walk through how I process my images, often ones from these videos. You can even download the raw files and follow along, or just, you know, put your own spin on things as you feel fit. There's loads of other content in there as well, along with the members galleries and the really friendly forum where you can share work, ask questions, or just meet other photographers. So yeah, if you'd like to support what I do and be part of that community, there's a link in the video description, or go to iworthphotos.com clubhouse-sign-up, or scan the QR code which is down the bottom here if you're watching this on the TV. So yeah, thanks so much, it really does mean a lot and it really helps to keep this channel going. So massive thanks for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'll have some news on the van by next week's video. If you enjoyed this one, there's also one at the top there that you might like as well, and over on the other side is that link to the Clubhouse there where you can check out everything that's going on behind the scenes and help support the channel as well. So yeah, massive thanks again, and I do hope to see you again next week.